All right. Technology is fantastic, I think. I had an amazing cold open for everybody, and now no one gets to see it. But that's okay. We had a little bit of technical difficulty starting up. Lakes is back as usual, staring straight into his camera with his dead eyes, as always. Thank you, Lakes.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, we're gonna go right into this. We won't bore you with the whole airport diatribe that I went into complaining about that. We're back. It's been 2 weeks. This is Crowns and Crows and Crowfall podcast. I'm Dragon. With me, as always, Valor and Lakes. Time for the rundown. It's been 2 weeks since our last show. Make sure you get on GameVox and get that address up there. We're going to go live with our call-in portion all throughout the show, just like any other talk radio. So if you've got something you want to comment on, hop on GameVox, put your thoughts in the comments, and log on. We'll get some more details after the rundown. Ace, it's its stretch goal. On to the next. They got a game developer, and now they're going for some localization stuff. The shop is now open. I didn't see anything you can actually buy other than bundles, but it's there. The pre-alpha test goals have been posted today, just about 6 hours ago. We're going to dive into that a little bit. And we had another Eternal Kingdoms post. I don't know where they keep getting all this stuff, but it's there. Excellent.
They keep getting it from their website.
But there's there is a reason why I think that they're doing that. And before we get to the topics of the day, it's basically, I think it's the most fleshed out part of their game, design-wise, so they can actually talk about it. I think that's something that's probably hasn't changed since day one. There's really not too much to it, and obviously there's details, but I think it's the most fleshed out that they can actually share. So that's why we're getting about 5 updates a month on the Eternal Kingdoms. All right, topics of the day. Valor pointed out an MMORPG.com article about how Crowfall is going to be one of the most anticipated games, or one of the most intriguing games to play in the next year or so. And he listed a lot of other games like WildStar and Elder Scrolls, so I don't know how legit the article is. But there is a good point that it is drumming up some buzz out there on the internet. Even massively OP is posting about Crowfall. We're going to talk about the top community suggestions that we found in the suggestions box on the main forums. There's some good ones that have been raging for months now, so I think it's a good time to pick them up and have a little discussion about them. And like I said, we're going to dive into the pre-alpha discussion. So, gentlemen. How, are we live, actually? Is it working?
I think we're actually good this time.
We're good? All right.
Yeah.
Valor, you had some misconceptions out there on Twitter, I know, last week about GameVox. You want to go on and kind of describe what we need to do to get this set up and rocking and rolling? Or should Lakes do it?
I was going to say Lake. I mean, he's actually the
all right.
the elite pro at it.
Go ahead, GameVox boy. You're muted. You're muted.
There we go.
See, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, guys.
All the problems.
You had 2 weeks to practice.
All you do is I'm going to post a link. You click on it. You make an account. Then you can sign up. It's just like using TS or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Super simple. When you join in, you can go ahead and put a comment with your question in there, and we'll get to you. We'll drag you in. Just make sure you stand by in GameBox. So when we pull you in, you know, you're not AFK, and then we have that, hey, buddy, you there?
You're automatically muted when you get in there, so do not mute yourself, because then when I drag you into the channel and unmute you, and you start talking, you still have to unmute yourself. Or if you have actually muted yourself, so don't do that. Valor, you should probably hop in GameBox if you want to listen to the people as they talk. You're currently not logged in, so just let you know. So let's oh, there you go. All right, so let's talk about how pervasive Crowfall is over the internet, how it's creeping into articles and upcoming MMOs all over the place. Now, I kind of want to talk, like, did you expect to see something like that, or do you think it's the gameplay, or do you think it's the names behind the game that are attracting the most attention?
I think it's the mechanics of the game itself. I think one of the big things that the community, our gaming community, wanted for a long time is something new, or something that would fit the old school style of game that they would they had in the past, but with a new twist to it. There hasn't really been anything else out there. I mean, there's been like WildStar, you said ESO earlier. All those games have all, ArcAge, they've all come out, but they haven't hit that need of that hardcore PvPer.
Yep.
So any game that gets to do that, Camelot Unchained being the other one that has a lot of hype right now. Both of those games are up and coming. They also have great development teams behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely expected Crowfall to pick up that kind of momentum and speed, and hopefully it continues to go throughout the development process.
So basically the answer to my question was yes.
Absolutely.
Both the name and the mechanics of the game. You think it's equal?
I think it's just the mechanics in general. The name is really nothing. I think the game
Not
itself.
the name Crowfall, but like you have Wrath.
I don't think the names behind it were exactly that thing that put it over the top, because you haven't really seen any big new PvP game like that.
Sure.
However, the names did attract. I know Valor and I both got into this game and started checking out because of the people behind it. But once we learned about the game, I would be perfectly fine with new developers coming out. I probably wouldn't have dropped as much money in the Kickstarter if it was a bunch of unknowns, but because of the people. Yeah, right? So,
well, Valor, the article that you gave me had the guy that's said basically he knows the two names, and that's the reason why he joined up. So do you stand on his side, or are you going with like a combination of both?
I mean, when we first heard about Crowfall, it started off with Play to Crush, which they marketed well. That's kind of a mentality that we like to take. And then from there, it was there was Todd Coleman, there was Gordon Walton, and it was hey, these guys, they've done some pretty impressive stuff in the past, and let's see what they're doing. And as it all just kind of grew and built, and we learned more about what their vision was. That was what was really the selling point, was seeing their vision. As it continues to grow throughout the industry, I think that what we're experiencing right now is that there's no MMO being developed by EA Games, really. Nothing.
There's no big studio game.
Yeah, there's no big
right
studio AAA. What you'd call, I don't know, 5-star
AAA game studio. I mean, with all the backing. Now, I want to interject here because I've been staring at your picture on the camera. Did you go like Benjamin Button on us, and like, are you now like 5 years younger than you were like 2 weeks ago? What happened? What happened to you? I feel like I'm your big brother. You're going into high school or something right now.
I mean, I get that sometimes.
You're clean,
I can shave off 10 to 15 years. What it was, I was just sitting there, I was like, man, you know what, it's getting hot down here in Texas. Beard's starting to feel heavy. So I was like, let's clean it up, and then, probably in like a week, I'll start growing it back.
I don't like it. I don't like change.
Microsoft software. It was like he did that. He uploaded his picture, did that Microsoft software where they guessed your age and said he was 50, and was like, no.
Oh, no.
It's funny because I saw that after doing this whole transformation, and it put me at 46. I was like, all right, this is why I have a MacBook.
Too much. All right, so like, what else are we seeing out there on the internet with Crowfall now that it's been a couple weeks, or has it been a month now since the Kickstarter ended? What are we actually seeing across the internet? We're seeing more recognition. It's starting to enter in the standard news media cycle whenever Crowfall puts up an update. I know Todd retweeted an MMORPG article, a massively OP article. So it's going out there. Do you think this game, or do you think Todd and company are going to have the legs in order to get the game across the finish line as far as giving enough information to keep people going along, like a Star Citizen or an Elite or something like that?
I'm actually a little curious to see how they do keep things progressing along. Are they able to maintain a development cycle that will continue to generate new interest, not just keeping us happy who already know what's going to be in the game? Are they going to be able to continue generating new interest? I think Camelot Unchained is doing a really good job. But it's still somewhat flying under the radar. I mean, when I remember, when you go back to some of these really big Warhammer Online. I mean, everywhere was Warhammer Online. This is going to be the next massive game. It's tackling.
Well, you had a guy jumping up and down on stage in sunglasses and like whatever.
And I think that ArcAge, as an example, most recently, it snuck up on people.
Did it really sneak up on people?
I mean, for a lot of people that I know, nobody really was big into that game in early alpha or alphas.
Well, even like. That game was released, what, in 2012 in Korea?
No. In Korea,
It's been around.
I mean, it's been around, but I mean, when they went into their the North American launch, I mean, I don't think a lot of people were tracking that game up until you know,
Okay.
maybe 2 or 3 months,
Let's,
2 months
let's
before
bring
it
it
launched.
back. Let's bring it back.
Yeah.
'Cause we went to Warhammer, then we went to ArcAge about something.
Yeah.
No,
Point being
yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
point being is that in today's age, I think we're seeing a new industry and a new process. And I think that the MMO news sites out there, the game news sites, they don't have anything else to talk about. And games like Camel Unchained and Crowfall, even though smaller in scope, will be receiving that same level of news coverage.
Lakes, what can Crowfall be doing better? I mean, obviously they can't do too much now because they're making the game. What do you expect to be seeing from Crowfall to promote it? Is it going to be just the streaming going to be enough, or do you want to see more than that?
I think it's going to be a multi-step promotion type thing. First of all, they have the no NDA, and they're trying to raise a little bit of awareness by saying that they're going to go into the pre-alpha testing, and they're going to allow the testers to give the feedback and the mechanics of the game, which is going to help build it up to where not everyone's going to be able to see it per se. They may not, not everyone's going to be streaming it. So I think that information is going to trickle out. It's going to be new. Not everyone's going to be able to play it, so there's going to be a lot of people interested in wanting to know more about the game. And I think it's fascinating that they're not releasing a whole lot, but maybe they're waiting for actual community members to try the game and give some input into it. And that little information leaked little by little is going to get that attraction. It's like giving a kid a candy, and then they want more, right? You keep giving them that piece of candy, but if you give them the whole bag, then they're done, right? Then they cry 10 minutes later, like, give me more. But if you give them that jelly bean each time, they're going to continue doing it. It's the same with that information. I really feel like they're going to do that with the no NDA, and then they haven't released a whole lot to begin with. So the expectation is that we're going to have an information drop at some point. And right now they're not, like, they're behind the times. They're not ahead of it. So they're not lacking the information to give out. They just haven't given it out yet.
Right. Okay. Let's. Did you have something to finish off?
Yeah, I was going to say. I think their plan to flesh out their systems as players test their systems, that's going to be the difficult thing to manage, because they don't know how their embargo system is going to work until people get in there and they're able to actually test it out. So I mean, they can release concepts, but some of those detailed things that a PvE MMO or a MMO that has PvE elements, where they could say, oh, we've got this big awesome dungeon, look at this boss you'll get to fight. Crowfall doesn't really have that as much. Well,
we've got a listener coming on that wanted to make a mention about who they're trying to appeal to, which kind of ties into this whole thing and how pervasive it is on the internet. I'm going to bring in Zomnivore. I hope I pronounced that right, and hopefully this actually works. Pressing buttons. Unmuted. Zomnivore, you're on. You wanted to talk about MOBAs. Go ahead.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
You got it. Go ahead.
Got you loud and clear.
Alright, so do you guys think they're trying to hit the MOBA market with the archetypes, and they've talked about limiting archetypes campaigns and changing the balance of power of magic? Do you think they're going to go that route?
Well, I personally, when I first heard about it, I thought they were designing to go after the MOBA crowd. That was like one of my #1 things. You got archetypes, you got action combat, so I mean, it kind of led that way. And it would be smart of them, because the MOBA market is a million times bigger than the MMO market right now, at least in North America. What I mean, Lakes, you're the MOBA guy. What do you think about that?
I don't think so. I really feel like the archetypes are specifically like making a class in any other MMO game out there. The customization of each character, I would say yes if the skill bar, like, they haven't said that they're going to keep the skill bar small. They said they don't want a huge skill bar. No, they said they weren't exactly.
8 to 9 abilities.
Limited. Did they actually say 8 to 9? Because I remember I asked for a specific number in our interview, and they told us no.
I got the sense it was under 12 at least, at the most.
I would like to assume, but you know what they say about when you assume, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that was their intentions, and I know when we asked them specifically if they planned on hitting that market, they said that wasn't their intentions by any means. However, there could be correlation to some MOBA players to think that game could be something like that, like a drawn-out MOBA game. I think that it could appeal to that. If you like playing MOBAs, you could play smaller campaigns, like the shorter campaigns being a week long maybe. Who knows? I'm just not seeing the exact, hey, we want the MOBA crowd out there.
Well, I mean, like the MOBA crowd is huge. I mean, you can admit that, and the kind of this is not a tried and true MMO, I guess you can call it. I mean, because it's limited to campaigns. Wouldn't it be smart to go after the MOBAs? Now, Lakes, if you were strictly just a MOBA guy and you weren't really a big MMO player, how would a game like this appeal to you? What would be the marketing strategy? Would it appeal to you if you could rip out
it would
MMO
have to
stuff?
Ladders and the tournament campaigns, which we've already put out. They said that they want to do tournament campaigns, and they have to have something to continuously grind for. They have to give you the option to have that shorter campaign. So if I want to continue to be successful in these shorter campaigns, then you could definitely appeal to that crowd. But I think they're hitting the part where I guess in my opinion, it's just hardcore PvP mentality in general. Like whether it's an MMO or a MOBA, just give me competition and give me scores and give me ladder, and I'm happy.
Zomnivore, what did you think? Does that answer your question? I mean, are you strictly a MOBA player or an MMO player?
I'm more of a MOBA player right now, but I played MMOs in the past. I was just thinking maybe it's in their business model because the limitations on the subsystem, and also they're giving us sneak peeks, or what is it, the exclusive periods of time on the VIP with new classes coming out, right? So it seems like...
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be cash op stuff with like skins and stuff like that. They already said that they don't want to go with the pay route with archetypes. That might change down the line, but we distinctly asked that question, and I think Todd and Gordon said they want, like, if you buy the game, you have access to everything, and I think they want to definitely go down that route. That might change, but I think when they do that, they go down that route. All right, Zomnivore, we appreciate it. I'm going to pop you back out to the main section there. Thank you for calling in, and I think we should let's move on to community suggestions, because I think we beat that marketing thing to death there, so to speak. I pulled up. You guys don't know which ones I've pulled up, but I've pulled up 3. I sorted the forum to the most active or most posted on, and some of these are kind of old, and we kind of hash these out. But let's kind of go over one of them. The first one that coming up at random is telegraphs need to go. This is based off the new gameplay trailer that they have that said, do people want them to go, or don't really care? And they had a decent sized vote there. They had about 500 people voting. Majority of the people, 62%, said, I don't want telegraphs. The minority, 13%, said, yes, they do. And the right there, 24% said they don't mind, but tone down the texture or modify it a bit or whatever. All right, I think we've talked about this a lot, but let's just go right around the table here. Valor, which would you vote for on this one?
I'm gonna stick with tone down telegraphs. I think that if you're gonna drop a meteor on somebody's head, they should see the shadow of that meteor before it lands on them. You know, I'm not saying that
that's spell effects rather than telegraph.
Yeah, that's not a telegraph.
I mean, it would be
like
it's the same thing.
effects.
It's the same concept as putting a red circle where a meteor strike's going to hit.
Well, that's fine, but what about sweeping sword strike in front of you?
Yeah,
or
no.
Whatever. No.
I don't think melee needs.
Okay.
I don't think melee needs.
Then
I think it's just for any sort of AOE type effect. Whatever is about to happen, hey, give it some sort of visual.
And shadowing for the effects. Okay,
Yep.
so you're no telegraph. Lakes, how about you?
I would agree with if they're dropping a meteor, maybe a shadow form, but not like specific. Not all AOE needs a telegraph specifically.
Sure.
It would depend on the actual type of telegraph. Like if you're throwing an object, maybe it gives a shadow, but I don't think that there should be circle, 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 line, line everywhere.
Yeah,
like that's just not intuitive gameplay, and it was quite like. Be honest, I watched the video and the combat back in the day, and I was like, wow, this is awful. Hopefully they change this.
Yeah, I think they kind of heard that loud and clear, and there's a lot of people that kind of think WildStar is some of the best combat on the internet, which I completely disagree with 100%. But that's a topic for past shows that we've already hashed out with. I personally don't like the telegraphs, as you mentioned. I'd rather play the player rather than play the ground, and I think that kind of goes with it. Well, Now let's kind of see if we can dive down into some of the psyche of some of these people. Why do you think people as a whole would want telegraphs? Why do you think that's something that people like?
Makes it easier. So first of all, you know where it's coming from. If I were a newer player and I've seen the telegraphs, you know, hey, I should probably watch out from there. But it's not teaching the player that has to put in the time and effort to learn each skill and kind of its range to begin with. So it makes it easier. It dumbs down PvP, and it really takes away from the overall having to learn each mechanical skill or each skill mechanic. And I think that's why some people like it, more of a casual style PvPer.
Yep. How about you, Valor?
I think what it allows is a lot more reactionary combat, where people are seeing, oh, this is about to happen, this is what I'm going to do. Whereas otherwise, you find yourself in the position that I expect we're going to find ourselves in Crowfall, is if you put yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time, you won't be able to react because you have already made a mistake. And I think that is the reason people want it is, oh, I want to be able to react to whatever's going to happen. The reason they're not going to have it is because they want people to make the right decisions in the first place.
I think there's some really good discussion going on in chat. We should bring up some of these points. I know the first one that popped up in front of me is Diminishing Return said, here's how I feel about the telegraphs. I think that they should be toggled for players who want to use them, but they are client-side, not server-side. So if a player A wants to see where his spell range covers, he should be able to, but they should not be required. That's a completely different thing.
Yeah, that's like MOBA style, right? So like you get to see your skill and its range and the effect and how thick it is, but your opponent
You like
can't
seeing how
see that.
thick it is, don't you?
TTP,
Spells.
man, there we go, right there.
Where are we at? 22 minutes.
It's 22
That was
minutes.
the record, dude.
Yeah.
But but yeah, it's exactly like MOBA. It's a bit like when I play League, I have it set so when I hold down the button, I see where my spell range is and the area of effect that it works. I think that's fine. I mean, if players wants to see that, as long as the other player doesn't see it, I'm good to go with that. Okay, let's see some of the other things. As Zarok, he was in one of the top guilds in Wallstar, and I think telegraphs added to the combat. It kept people active. Well, it kept people running around like nuts. I mean, that's for sure. I think that's indicative of action combat and not specifically.
I think I touched on this before. So if you're not moving and learning these skills, like and actively playing the game, you're gonna actively die every time. So it encourages you, if you don't like dying, to actively play the game. You don't need telegraphs to do that for you by any means. I mean, some people like it. In MMOs, you see it as, on the PvE side, you see telegraphs coming out from like mob bosses and stuff like that. You see the lines and all this kind of stuff, but you don't see that all the time.
Yep, I think that just as they continue to flesh it out, people are going to hate it, and people are going to love it.
Well, that's with any game. People are going to hate it, love
so
anything.
in the end, it really doesn't matter as long as they do it the right way.
Yeah,
whatever they decide that to be.
It's a great conversation to have because it really tells what kind of background players have come from. People that are used to just strictly PvE MMOs with standing out of the fire and raiding and all that other stuff, they're going to go and tend towards telegraphs because that's what they're used to. And then you're going to have MOBA players and old school PvP players, or just standard PvP players might not want it because it adds to the skill, creates the difficult encounters, and it doesn't add really the cheese to it. So I think we can kind of go on in circles with it. I think I think we're all kind of in agreement with. There's one other thing that Scree actually popped up and said that it was actually designed for a special reason to minimize looking at cast bars and unit frames. I mean, I think we covered it. Yes, we want to take away from looking at your hotbars and everything else like that, but let's not move your eyes to the ground. Let's move your eyes to the actual players you're involved with. And I think Lakes is the one that brought that up earlier today, or earlier a couple minutes ago. So the next topic was payment model, and this was responded by almost 1,100 people. It was posted way before the Kickstarter came out, so people were kind of guessing at what they wanted to do. And essentially is, what would you prefer to see the business model other than free to play? And there's $5 a month, $7.50 a month. I don't know why that was an option. $10 a month, buy to play, no cash shop, buy to play with cash shop, and something totally different. And I guess people got imaginative with that. So basically, what one was the subscription model at $10 a month. And it seems that Crowfall might have been able to make a couple extra bucks with a subscription, but The second place one actually won, which is buy to play with a cash shop. And that came in with at 28%, 27.9%. So that actually won. Do you guys like the business model that they're proposing? Is it something you would want? Or do you want to give Crowfall more money, or do you want to choose how you give Crowfall more money? Fowler, we'll start with you.
I never almost spend money in a game. Whenever I'm going, when I was playing arcades, the only money I ever spent in game was something my wife gave me for a birthday present, and
that's nice.
It's because I feel like my time is more valuable to me. I say my time is my money is more valuable to me than my time. So for me, it's just I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do it all myself. I'll get my own gear. I'll do this. I'll do that. And in a game like Crowfall, you can go out and you can kill for your equipment. You can do all this.
Right.
And so when they provide you, the ability to, pay for VIP, that is convenience.
Well,
and convenience is one of those things that you'll see a lot of people pay for. So I'm okay with it.
Have you ever played a game that was free to play? With a cash shop option?
Technically, Arcade is free to play.
But that was pay to win, that game.
Yeah,
so that's a completely different experience.
Well, but you could play that game for free, and if you chose to spend money, then you could.
Yeah,
so
but it's an interesting model.
But it was, horrible. And my cat just knocked over the blinds that I hung up about 10 minutes ago.
Excellent.
Or 20 minutes ago.
All right. Well, Lakes, how much money have you spent on RP for your Legends account?
So that was my point, and I was actually going to bring this up. Is the business model for Crowfall is they're going to give cosmetics, they're going to give the skins, a lot of just cosmetic type stuff without having that pay to win feel, and they're going to make money off of it. One of the things that you can do is sell skins for certain gear. So I've been playing again recently, Path of Exile. You get your armor on your person, but you can buy skins for that armor. And it will transfer. It's account-based, so you can continuously have it and transfer it to different armors and stuff like that. And they make a lot of money. Not saying that they're rich. I don't know what Grinding Gear Games is all about and their money and all that. But I know that League of Legends and Dota 2 and Smite and all these other MOBA games out there, they sell skins and add-ons and Dota 2 has so many customization things. They were actually able, Smite, to have that couple mil, I forgot the exact 2 mil, 1.7 mil, something like that tournament. And majority of that was raised off of in-game purchases, being a portion of skins and ward icons and all different kinds of stuff that you could possibly do. So the business plan is there. I'm not sure if they're, well, first of all, MMO people, they love skins, right? If you have a mount, you can buy a different mount and a different type of deal. So I think that their business plan is solid. Cosmetics are definitely a way to go. I mean, there are free-to-play MMOs out there, like Terra, for instance, right now, that sells a lot of skins and other things like that, and they don't necessarily have a pay-to-win model.
So is that that's the way you would want to go? You buy the game, and then you buy skins if you want?
Buy skins if you want. Nothing needs to be mandatory. First, because you'll turn a lot of people off.
Well, we're not. I think we're all strictly agreeing that pay to win is out the door.
So once we're there, we're there, right? So at that point, just skins and everything and cosmetics. I think that you'll make plenty of money on top of the subscription-based stuff. I think the subscription base alone is enough to buy into it. Being able to passively level your characters, have more characters, and be able to do that multiple times, so I can play different campaigns at the same time. I think that their business model is very sound, actually.
Valor, do we want to bring Scree in because he actually logged in?
Yeah, I'd be okay bringing Scree in. I also want to talk about my thoughts on a particular campaign style that I think would be
hold your horses,
exciting and valuable. So
I
make
have
sure
that
we get
written
to it.
down.
Make sure we get to it.
All right, buddy. I saw it. I made a note.
All right.
All right. Stop screwing up the show.
Well, I've got to get it in there before Scree comes on here.
Well, we have at least another half hour for the show, so we're in good shape. All right, Scree, let's get him on here. I have no idea what he wants to talk about, but he's here every single week. He's one of our VIPs, if you want to call. We have fun on Twitter quite a lot. All right, Scree, you're on. Go ahead, buddy.
How you guys doing?
Doing good. What's up?
Hey, so I guess the big thing that my guild's been talking about lately is the restriction on one character per server. Or campaign, I guess we should call them. Sorry.
We talked about that a little bit last 2 weeks ago, didn't we, Valor?
We kind of brushed over it. It was a light topic.
I had the game muted, or the stream muted, so I can't really actually hear what you guys are.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
The big takeaway there was for a guild like mine focused on stealth only, it could minimize our ability to interact with people if they don't want to use stealth. So what's the solution there? I mean, are we kind of screwing ourselves, do you think? Or, is there an opportunity to allow on specific types of campaigns multiple characters? I can definitely see the argument for the order-chaos balance, only allowing one character for that campaign type. But, like the guild free-for-all, what's really the downside there?
All right, Scray, I'm going to mute you just because you got a little bit of an echo there and some background noise. So I got a chat box up with you if you wanted to talk again while I mute you. But I think the answer that you're always going to get is this: well, maybe we'll make a campaign with those rules. And I think it's kind of out in the open. I don't think they've actually said anything. But let's start with you.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of having multiple characters in the same campaign? First of all, do you want it? And second of all, what are the pros and cons?
Pros and cons, the good thing about having multiple characters in the same campaign is, again, flexibility. People can play a variety of different things in the campaign based off of whatever scenario is going on. The cons are your ability to potentially fill up a server, game the system, and it takes away a little bit of the impact of your decision of who you put into a campaign.
Well, let me jump in. I guess he was a little bit low and people didn't hear him on stream. Basically, he said, what are the pros and cons of letting multiple accounts or multiple characters of your account in the same campaign? So let's say you have 3 characters. Can you bring all 3 in the same campaign, or are you going to be limited? So that's basically what it is. I'm sorry, Valor, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I didn't even realize. Sounded good to me. And so, his example was, if they have a lot of stealth in their guild and they want to go in and they want to do, whatever they're doing, that could really limit them because the stealth characters are going to be limited in what they can do. So it'd be beneficial to allow them to bring in different characters. What would be interesting is, I do have an idea. I don't know if you want to go to Lake first, Dragon, on this, but I do have an idea for a solution.
It's up to you, Lake.
Okay. Lake, do you have anything?
Are you going to talk about the thing you put in Slack? Because I do have a couple comments on that.
Oh, no, that completely different. But
that's going to be next.
So my solution to this is, just account bound. Whatever you put into the embargo, account bound. Whatever you take out of the embargo, account bound. And if you want to divide whatever resources you're able to gather from a campaign, if you want to divide those amongst 3 different characters, hey, go for it, have fun. But that is the only thing that I would say is don't allow multiple characters to bring multiple things in and take multiple things out. That's how I'd handle it.
I agree 100% there. What about you, Lex?
So I've been on the fence about this topic in general because, first of all, I would never do that because if I have 3 different characters, I'm going to play 3 different campaigns. Yeah. I'm not going to particularly put all 3 into one campaign because I pigeonhole myself, especially if you can't pull them out, like the pay-to-lose feature or whatever it might be. So that's my first problem is I wouldn't want to pigeonhole myself and put all 3 of my characters in there. But allowing other people to do that, now you get into the fact of the import rules like Valor was saying, and now you have 3 different characters bringing in multiple stuff that maybe you bring in 3 characters, but you're only going to play 1, but you use those 3 to import a bunch of stuff in. Right. So now you already have an advantage. And if everyone in your guild does that, then it's kind of, I think it's out of line a little bit. Another thing that I don't like about multiple characters is someone's very good at microing and macroing themselves, and they can multi-box multiple different characters logged onto the server at the same time and be around certain strategic points at every time, to where if they have multiple monitors, they can have multiple different games up, multiple different accounts, whatever the case might be. You can't really do limit accounts per se, but characters you can. And if you can stop people from being able to do something like that, in my opinion, I just don't like the fact of being able to buy your way into a campaign and have an advantage, and then have each person individually put out into strategic spots to where you can just log on to another character and be in a different spot to maybe fight someone else. The other thing that the pro to it I really like is I can have a dedicated crafter for myself. Instead of going out and buying services from somebody to make me something, I can have a crafter character loaded in for me that's specifically dedicated to crafting. So there's that as well. So I'm torn, but I definitely lean towards the no advantage of one character, one account.
Well, here's the final thing I think on the topic. I think one of the things you really need to avoid is the arms race. So if you could bring one character in, all of a sudden now you have power gamers that are bringing 2 characters in, 3 characters in, and they're spending all the time farming materials, because now they have 3 bodies to drag into a campaign where the average other player might not have the ability to bring in 3 full characters worth of gear to have that advantage. So that basically makes the VIP program, if you're leveling up multiple characters and whatever, a pay-to-win situation, because now you have now you have a big donkey that you could bring in with all your stuff, or mule, I should say, your bank mule, bringing in all the other stuff. So I think you can't allow it unless the rules specifically say you can bring a lot of people in here. Then I bet you it's going to be less popular than anything else.
Thomas actually posted something saying possibly the point, I don't know where it came up, but they said account embargoes, like putting a limit on the account itself. So if you want to bring in multiple characters, you could still only bring out in a set amount of gear for that campaign. That could be a solution to that kind of buy to win, or that pay to win style feature that you brought up there. It could work. It's something that they would have to work on. That's why I'm on the fence. Like, if they can make it work on the back end, on the development side, to where it's not giving that person a strict advantage over anyone else, and I don't see a problem with it per se. I just like what Valor was saying, that you have to be strategic on setting up for campaigns. You should have to work with a group of people to make sure you're bringing in the right stuff into a campaign to win. And if you don't, you should have to pay the consequences. I think you can't respec your character points, and we talked about that kind of stuff, and it's making gaming a little bit harder, which we all wanted. I really feel like they need to do that with this as well, is make your decisions matter within this game.
Well, I mean, you could always bring multiple accounts in, and it's impossible to stop that. And I don't think they should, because, hey, if people want to buy multiple accounts, go for it. You're spending your money, and you can't stop that. So that's going to happen regardless. It's impossible to stop that. If you can make the embargo account bound for the campaign versus character bound, maybe that is another solution. So
yeah, definitely. Well, let's real quick. I like calling out anyone who comments. Blickstev did bring up that they can bypass certain disadvantages, such as playing a centaur in the spring when food is plentiful, and then switching to another archetype when they get to the fall and the winter. Sounds a little bit like there are going to be different requirements per archetype for sustenance.
Oh, snap. We got a leak.
You heard it here first, folks.
Exclusive. Bigger characters eat more food.
I mean, come on. Artcraft does everything just as obvious as it could be, so I'm not terribly surprised.
Well, and every character has like 50 different stats you could choose from. So why not, a level of food?
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go with your topic du jour before we get to the pre-alpha stuff. You had a really good point of a good campaign.
Yeah,
type.
so
Talk about it.
I've been sitting here and I've been reading over the forums and people complaining about the importance of Eternal Kingdoms in campaigns. By limiting what you can bring into campaigns, you're effectively limiting the importance that Eternal Kingdoms can actually have in the game. If you restrict what you can bring into campaigns to 0, what is your Eternal Kingdom good for? And they'll say, oh, you can house this and build this and put these, but really the meat and potatoes of the game is the campaigns, and everything else just doesn't matter. So I said, why don't just have a 100% import, 0% export, and just do this, however often, and allow people to go in there, just burn as much as they want, go in and play their kingdom game, and say show off all of the fancy armor and weapons and siege equipment that they've got. Let them do it. Let them go have fun. And I think a lot of people would do that, and it would obviously turn into a pretty good resource sink.
No, for sure. I mean, I think it's a great way of, if you can't bring anything out, but you can bring a ton of stuff in, it might be a fun little way to blow some of the stuff that you have. What do you think? Like, you said you had a comment for it.
Dude, for some reason I read that the complete opposite. So you can bring nothing in, but you can bring out 100% of what you've accomplished within that campaign. And I was like, that's a great idea, Valerie. Like, that actually solves everything. No one brings in anything. We all make bows and arrows. We fight it out. And then I get all the riches because I'm the best shot. Like, that would be pretty cool. But now the other side, why would someone do that? Why would I go into a campaign bringing in all kinds of stuff and not be able to bring anything out?
Because you've built it. You've made it. You can go in and you can just wipe the floor with everyone. And at the end of the day, you say, "Hey, my Eternal Kingdom,
I got a better
my
one for
group
you.
of guys.
So
we just went in there and owned everyone."
I feel like that. So you know how they make the game in its rings, and each ring is progressively harder towards the middle. I feel like that ring would be outside of the internal kingdoms. Like that is.
No, here,
I mean, I
wait,
can see
hold on
that.
a second.
I
got something for you, though.
That'd be like a guild versus guild battle.
All right, yeah, hey, cool. I like that idea.
I'd be
Go
okay
ahead.
with that.
What if the first round of the tournament or the last round of the tournament had 100% in, no out?
Oh.
So as you're progressing through the tournament, you have various import rules. So
I'm gonna take your idea and I'm gonna branch off. Go ahead,
Okay.
continue though.
Here, this is our giant what if, because it's actually a good conversation to have, and I
Yep.
think it's somewhat relevant to the game anyway. Let's say for the tournament rounds, let's say there's 5 rounds, random number. The first one is you can bring in. You don't even know how much you can bring in. Let's say it's gonna random at the beginning of each tournament. That's the fun part. Let's say the first one you can bring in 20% of your stuff. The next one's 50% of your stuff. The next one's 30% of your stuff, and then all of a sudden the last round is 100% of your stuff. Do you plan to how much stuff do you bring in, and how much do you save for the next round? Do you always go full blow, or do you wait for that 100% in round where you can dominate? Come on, Lakes. You gotta like that surprise factor going. Or maybe it is structured. Maybe it goes up.
I agree. So I think in tournament campaigns, in my mind, you should have to be flexible. And there was actually something posted in the general discussion about tournament campaigns, and someone was complaining that they don't like them per se because the campaign, like the tournament is set in stone. It depends on who's good. So like Call of Duty, right? Certain teams are good at certain maps and certain objective styles within Call of Duty or Counter-Strike. So maybe the LOTD is really good at the Bloodstone, but yet we're bad at something else. So if the tournament campaign...
Like losing?
Yeah. So what if the tournament campaign is strictly not Bloodstone, like the team that has the best? So in my mind, I think tournament campaigns should be randomized. They should not give a specific team an edge off the bat, and import-export rules should be randomized. I do like that. You shouldn't know what you're getting into until it's like, bam, boys, load up, let's do this. Mm-hmm. Like, in my mind, that is the funnest thing to have to adapt. That really shows your good players versus your guys that are strictly good and grinding out that one campaign style.
Well, I mean, here's another thought. What if instead of being randomized, you only find out 12 hours before the next campaign, and you're not in an active campaign, so you can't like farm real quick or anything else like that? What if it's tournament season, and you spend all off season gathering materials and winning and getting ready for that tournament, and you know what the structure is? It starts off at 10% in. So everybody's on an even playing field at the early rounds of the tournament. and then as you progress, it goes maybe it's 10 to 20, then back to 10, and then the somewhere maybe the last round or maybe something else is 100%. What if you knew that 100% where it's going to be?
I like that, but I don't think the last round should ever be 100%.
I agree.
I think
that's why I stopped at the
last
very end. I
round
stopped
should
myself.
strictly be, all right, we're starting fresh, we're completely new, and I think that tournament campaigns should have a completely new rule set that haven't been ran throughout the, I guess you'd say, regular season, to where it makes people adapt right off the bat. And that would be, in my mind, probably the best way to run those tournament campaigns is new rule sets and have those fluctuating factors within there to make people adapt.
I agree, only because you need a revolving and ever-changing meta in PvP games, so nothing's ever static, which makes Riot such a great game company, is they're constantly changing up their game and making the game fresh every patch or so, or at least every couple patches. Valerie, you were raising your hand.
Yes.
Like the young schoolboy that you are.
Well, I was going to be like, and Valerie. I was going to say, just we want to have fun with the game, but we also want it to be competitive and balanced and fair. Allow the tournaments to progress as they have, and have a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket. Winner's bracket is the whatever we'd say is a balanced, fair import-export rule set all the way up. Loser's bracket. After you enter the loser's bracket, then you can bring whatever you want into campaigns because it really doesn't matter. And, so what if you are the most elite, 1,000-person guild out there, the best you're going to be able to finish is, 26. And you would still have a lot of fun. There's still, you'd be able to get in there and, do cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the flexibility is there, and I'm really looking forward to that first FAQ about import-export, and then the second one, and then the third one that says the same stuff as the first one but with prettier graphics, and then the fourth FAQ that comes out with the video, and then the fifth up, I'm making a joke and no one's getting it. But
I have a question for you, Dragon.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
My question for you is this: we're going to a new subject. How do you feel about someone who spent the most amount of money being in the select group of players for technical testing, the earliest stages for Crowfall?
Did you save that for Dragon on purpose? Because you know how I feel. Go ahead.
Yep, I want to hear. I want to hear what Dragon has to say.
Now,
about
wait, hold on a second. What is the question now? Like, how do I feel about paying money to get in early?
Pre-alpha, obviously that's going to be starting up at. Neither am I. I don't think. I know none of us are. Nobody here paid 10 grand.
Nope.
How do you feel about individuals who may or may not have any experience testing games at all, being in that handful of people going to be testing out the game?
Thomas, did you hear that? He basically called you an idiot right there.
I am asking.
Thomas Blair a fool and a moron.
I think that was a question towards you.
I mean, no, but the question is,
it?
how do I feel? I don't care. I mean, he spent money. It was part of way for Crowfall to get people to get into the game early as possible, and it's good. I mean, if they're good gamers, then hopefully they have good suggestions. I think the guys that are making the game can, basically figure out who's good and who's not by playing their game, and I think they're experienced enough to know how to make a good combat system. I mean, if the guys come in and they're keyboard turning and they own a rollerball ball mouse and something like that, I think they're going to figure that out. And when the guys when they say, "Hey, the game's moving too fast because my ball doesn't roll fast enough," I think they might ignore that kind of suggestions. But I think they're smart enough to figure it out. I mean, one of my favorite combat systems that Thomas worked on was DCUO, and I think that was awesome. If we can just take that and implant it into this game, I think it's going to be a success. So, do I care that they get in earlier than me? No, because I could have gotten in if I wanted to break my bank account. Do I care that people that are maybe suck at video games are getting in before me? And no, because I know for sure that they're not going to have a definitive statement on how the game is developed. If that's what you're getting at.
Well, I mean. A lot of companies will go into these testing phases with set either people that they work with in the gaming industry or people they're familiar with. And it's a newer approach that I've seen, that with Kickstarters they sell that access. And I don't know. I mean, do you think that they're going to do an either or are they going to merge it together?
What do you mean an either or? Like,
Is it going to be either the people that they have worked with in the past and trust, or is it going to be just the people who pay? Because, I mean, what Todd said, I believe, earlier was that they're just going to go from the top of the list and work their way down.
I mean, I think they're experienced developers. Any experienced developer is going to take feedback where it's there and incorporate it if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go ahead, Lex.
So I've been itching at this, right? And I have a strong opinion.
Yeah.
It should be a mix.
Yeah.
One of the things in the business side of the house is these guys paid $10,000, dude. You let them play your game.
Yeah.
You can't cut them out. However, when you're testing specific mechanics, like first thing is the combat system mechanics, you want to bring in people that are very experienced within that from a gaming outside, so they can give you some good input that maybe you don't hear in the office every time. Because if we're talking about something and we're trying to create something and we only have a small group of people putting input in and then a few birds on the outside like tossing
Bubble
out,
effect.
right? You're in the bubble effect. But getting to work with other people that are well versed in some PvP mechanics, now you start to open up and get some of those outside the box ideas that start to lead to, maybe not their idea was the best, but start to lead to other ideas. And it's just tons of like branching out, and you can really help create a better game. I think that if they do that, it's going to be selective. And you don't want to make those people that paid $10,000 feel like their money wasn't worth it. But I mean, when you pay $10,000, are you paying to get into pre-alpha? Like, no, you're supporting the game. You're not doing it for the kingdom or whatever else that you're getting with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people that are dropping 10 G's on this game are not doing it because they get to play mini developer. I mean, I think they're doing it. This isn't Pantheon. I mean, I think they're spending the money because I think they can afford to. Hopefully, they can afford to drop 10 grand on a game, and B, I think they just want to be part of it from the inside, sidelines, I guess you can call it, whatever. So, I mean, like, how many $10,000 pre-alpha?
That's what I'm looking it up right now. So they had 15 from the Kickstarter, and we'll just assume that they didn't get any others.
Okay, so 15 of them. Do you think 15? They're going to develop a game on 15 random people within internet?
Well, it depends, right? It's like internal. It's pre-alpha testing, so more like an internal test, but not really internal.
But there's no NDA.
Right, there's no NDA. I think that they can definitely reach out to certain people and have them test and play their games. One, because they'll get the information out to the public, which will help raise a little bit of hype.
Yep.
At the same time, you want those people that are well-versed in the mechanics to come in and kind of give, like if I'm developing a game, I may want to bring in some, Voyboy to give me some insight onto my game and some of the mechanics involved. Not, get what I'm saying? Like bring in some experience, but at the same time, you got to treat your special guys special, man. Like you can't take away that Cavassier and stuff like that from those guys that paid that VIP section.
No, I mean, well, here's another question. What if they allow others that haven't paid for pre-alpha access into the pre-alpha area? Do you think that's...
They're brought in for specific reasons. I think that when you pay $10,000, the last thing you should care about is exclusive, like, oh, I want this game to only be mine. It's going to come out and trickle out to each person. So if the development team puts in a few extra people that they feel like they could grab good insight and feedback from, and they throw them into this game and try to really work with them, it could help. I mean, but they are developing the game. Like, they're going to take suggestions with a grain of salt, no matter if you're the most experienced player or the person that paid $10,000. So, I mean, you can only do so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you should always bring people in that you trust, that value their opinion on, and as the game goes further on in development, I think they're going to start allowing more and more people in, because the more opinions that they have to kind of glance over, the better it's going to be, I think, for any game, just because you can't develop a game based on 15 random people. I think you got to base it off experience, which is what they have, and then you kind of go from there. You tweak it, And I think we see the direction that they're going in as far as what they want in combat. It's just it's all going to come down to a lot of technical stuff, and like you know all about animations and canceling and the proper frames which to cancel this and that and the other. I mean, like you're a higher end mobile player, so you know about stutter stepping and canceling autos and figuring all that type of stuff. So somebody with your experience would be perfect for that, because you get to kind of really help fine-tune the responsiveness and how that whole system works together. So hopefully they get people like you.
Thomas has my email, so
yeah, I think he does. He did mention in the announcement. Where was it? Gosh, hold on, I'm gonna find it.
I'm still waiting for him to show up on Twitter. Pan reactivated hers after like what 3 or 4 years or something like that.
I tried to like hashtag her, like it was the at Blake, like I can't ever find the dude. Like, how do I talk to him on a daily basis, man?
Well, I mean, here's
how do I bug this guy? Come on, you need to help us find you to annoy you with our comments and questions.
Dude, Skype me on a reg, please.
There you go. Well, here's a comment that I kind of got a chuckle out of with the update that went out today for the milestone combat testing. Testers will be selected in order. That means we'll be starting at the beginning of the list of pre-alpha testers and invite people until we have as many as we need. If we need more, we'll invite more until we have enough, and then we'll stop. Testers will not be bound by an NDA, so they'll be able to talk freely on the forums, in podcasts, etc. Is that pointed at us at all? You think? Are they suggesting that we bring people on as guests?
Dude. I don't think Pan, like we were joking about that last time.
Can we get a Kickstarter for getting these $10,000 users on there and help jazz up the webcast?
I mean, clearly we need some more characters on here.
I want to give Dragon pre-alpha access because he couldn't even get past the login screen.
No, it was terrible.
And hashtag no stream up yet.
That was not my problem. It's been working, and then all of a sudden, the site that we were using went down. But anyway,
and we're a webcast. We're not even a podcast, so get owned on that.
That's true. That's true. Who wants to be on a podcast anyway? Come on.
Oh
anyway,
do people even do those anymore?
Sure.
It was a joke because it's old.
All right, we're hitting the hour mark. I think we covered everything we wanted. Is there anything that the pre-alpha stuff that we should actually talk about, as far as you're talking about the power creep for for Reels powers, and there's nothing that's really going to be fleshed out. They're going to be talking about targeting physics, animations, power chains. That's another term that we haven't really heard officially, is power change, which is kind of interesting. Even though we in our interview they pointed out there were some in the original videos. Is there anything there that's worth commenting on, or should we just wait and see on all of that stuff?
What I did like is I liked the way they outlined their testing, and they're going to the basis of the game. It's going to be a PvP game, so the first thing they're going to start testing is those mechanics. One, because the telegraphs and the mechanics and everything, like that's probably the biggest gripe that they got when they released some of those videos. It's awful. Like, it's still in development. It's awful. And then they went back. They said it's awful. They redesigned it, and now they have what they have now. I haven't seen it. I would love to. So I feel like they're taking the right steps. You have to have the good backbone of the game. If it's terrible PvP, then you could test your UI or whatever else that you plan on doing in certain testing phases first, but you'd be wasting your time. So I do like the steps that they're taking. I think that is the experience of the team, is they're making it work and they're making the right decisions there. So I think what they've come out with is another reassurance. It's a pat on your back saying, good job, Larry. We've got your back. Like, I'm excited about it.
I think in the first interview I had with Todd, right before the Kickstarter, or right when the Kickstarter was taking off, the three main components, or at least the two main components from MMO that I think are extremely important, are two things. One is the combat, and two is the user interface. Because if the UI sucks, I don't even want to look at your mess. But combat is more important than anything else. It's how the game feels when you get in. If it's laggy,
did you play League of Legends in beta?
No.
Like, it was awful UI, awful, but the game still took off. So I'm perfectly fine with terrible UI.
I mean, like, but it basically, it's measured out. Like, if the combat is absolutely amazing and it's a fun game, I'll ignore the UI for now. But if the combat and the gameplay are decent and I'm kind of having fun, and if I have to tackle the UI constantly, Like, I have to go to, like, remember, like, Final
Right,
Fantasy
it's a pain in
XI's
the
UI, where I have to go all these seated menus and everything else. Like, I'm going to log off and not log in because it's a pain in the ass. League of Legends is different. I mean, it was just, the UI was just basically a skin at that point. You're still pressing the same keys. In MMOs, you actually have to go through menus and stuff like that. That's the only reason why I bring that up. More important than any other game or genre out there. I think we're going to wrap this up here, guys. We're going to be on for the after show. Follow us and love us on Twitter. Love us and follow us here on Twitch. Make sure you get GameVox. We'll be on the after show. You can always hop on and join the conversation during the after show. Log on to cf.gg. Weekly news. I didn't update it last week because I was away on business. Apologize about that. Guys,
So bi-weekly?
Bi-weekly? Bi-monthly, you mean? Bi-weekly's twice a week. Anyways,
Make sure to remind people if you have questions, comments, etc. Send them to crownsandcrows@gmail.com. That is the easiest way for us to get to it. Otherwise, I'm going through Twitter. I'm going through Twitch PMs,
which you're more than happy to do.
Crowfall. Yeah, I'm okay. I'll do it, but it's easiest if you just send them through Gmail, guys.
Yep.
So
I really love you guys that came on and joined the conversation. Make sure when you come on, look for the pop-up message. I've been chatting with a bunch of people that have logged on. And you get a own little PM box that pops up. Well, I'll ask you what you want to talk about, and then I'll drag you in. Some of you guys, the couple guys that came on today was awesome. Hopefully we can get some more callers next week and just kind of do a show where we're just chatting with different players. We will be bringing in some of you in the after show. I have Arathodon, Arithian, however you pronounce your name. Sorry, we'll have you on in the after show, and we'll talk about one of my personal favorite topics that we've discussed before. But in any case, thank you guys for watching. Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern live. All our videos will be on YouTube in the coming days. Check them out. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
take care.
See you guys.